People departed out of our way from the quickened steps I heard, but they lingered nearby, whispering their curiosities. The warmth of the sunlight left my skin as the air once again cooled. Despite my hesitation and digging my heels into the ground, Lyran pushed me forward. My head shook as my breathing quickened, shallow and erratic. My palms became clammy and cold. Lyran slowed down and loosened his grip ever so slightly. My shoulders quivered as I took in a deep breath. Not knowing where they were taking me was torture. If I lingered too long, Desmond's spies would find me, just like these two had before being taken here. "She's terrified," Thor whispered, sounding less than pleased with himself from what I could guess. "We'll take her up," Lyran whispered back, his voice strained. What would it matter if I was terrified? They had no business caring if they were less than reasonable when imprisoning me. They didn't have the right to feel guilty now. Too many men in this world had the complex that they were justified in whatever they did, so long as it meant restoring the human population and protecting their order. I only sought the right to protect myself with whatever means necessary. The nerve. Stairs. So many stairs that spiraled up. A tower? I didn't remember seeing a tower in the distance, but then the dense forest would do well to conceal that. My journey to the Northern Order, a rumored order ran by solely women, had been a failure. But all I had to do was escape from here, like I did the multitude of other times I got into questionable situations. Every step made the idea less probable as I worked through every scenario, until this cloth came off my eyes. I was blind to any telltale way to escape. The sudden jolt of a dense wood door with hinges that ached to have some maintenance broke my thoughts. Shaking my head from the high-pitched noise, I was guided to take a sharp left. Lyran closed the door as he let me go. Whipping off the blindfold, I looked around the room. A window was the only freedom I could see, with two men currently blocking the door. But even then, the well-kept natural stone walls, floor and ceiling, hardly made me feel comfortable. A slight, earthy smell permeated the surrounding air, almost making me feel at home when I closed my eyes. A modest bed made of hay lay atop a makeshift wooden frame. The small wooden table next to the bed was bare, and the wooden chair and round table next to the window had a thin layer of dust. In the middle of the table was a candle. Walking to the window, the men gave me a moment to absorb the room. The sunlight was shimmering through the window frame. I glanced out at the life below me. Life was in every soul as children played in the market, with the adults laughing and trading freely. Wispy clouds blew by in the sky, the wind resilient with a broken moon hovering above. Endless hills of green and farmland spread out before me as field workers planted new crops. Every inch of rolling hills and forest beyond allowed me to lose myself in a moment of peace. Lyran stepped toward me as I backed into the corner beside the window and the wall. He stops, keeping the space between us. His brows come together for a moment before he takes in a deep breath. I looked to Thor as his hands ran through his hair. Lyran finally broke the silence, clearing his throat. "This is your room. We will have meals delivered to you until we consider it safe enough for you to come out." His words were gentler than before, as if speaking to a child. "Thor will show you around soon. Until then, just try to not cause too much trouble." The corners of my mouth formed a bitter smile as I looked at Lyran. One cell for another, at least This one has a view, I said, as the men left the room. Hearing a lock click made me narrow my eyes. Of course, they wouldn't deny it. Nothing to do but wait. I sat at the table and glanced at the moon over the landscape through the window. My grandmother would whisper stories of the moon before the calamity, before she passed away. There were phases of the waxing and waning moon, and it was as small as the tip of my thumb in the vast night sky. Understanding what she meant, as I ever only knew it in its current form, never really came, but the stories fascinated me. The moon had a secret. 50 years ago, war ravaged the planet. And during that time, many thought that the gods were angry. A meteor came and crashed into the moon, breaking it apart and sending it so close to Earth it covered most of the horizon, as it does today. Communications dropped as things called satellites descended from the sky, and panic ensued. Nuclear warfare broke out soon after, and it destroyed most of the human population, along with most of the animals. Only those in bunkers survived, and a few others,